Welcome back to our meeting and to the Douglas County Good evening and welcome to our March 24th Douglas County Board of County Commissioners business meeting. We want to welcome any of you who are at the Douglas County Courthouse or joining us online. I do just want to pass on a bit of information regarding how we'll run our meetings on Zoom during this time of social distancing. If visual aids are used during the meeting, the presenter will share the screen with the call. Participants will not be able to view them without a computer, smartphone, or tablet. All participants will be entered into the meeting with their audio muted, meaning the commission and the public will not be able to hear you. Presenters will be unmuted when their agenda item comes up. We ask that all online presenters use good conference call etiquette and mute their line when not speaking and introduce themselves each time they speak. If you have a public comment on an agenda item or under regular public comment, please use the raise your hand function on Zoom. Staff will call on you and unmute you. We ask that speakers give their name and address for the minutes. The county reserves the right to shut off the microphone and remove any speaker from the meeting if they are vulgar, rude, or inappropriate. A recording of this meeting will be available on our website after the meeting. So we will start with the consent agenda. Commissioner Kelly, Commissioner Reed, would either of you like to pull anything from the consent agenda?
Nope.
Sarah, is there anyone? Oh, would you like to pull anything from the consent agenda, Sarah?
Yes, commissioners, I am so sorry. Item 1.3, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty with our agenda process. That was not a part of our published agenda packet, and I've told those folks to plan to be at the next week's meeting at 3:31. So I'm not, it's all operator error on my part and not vote on it tonight. I would appreciate that. And I have no one here at the courthouse to remove anything else from the consent agenda.
Thank you. Jill or Robin, is there anyone joining us online that would like to remove anything from the consent agenda?
No, not that I can see.
Okay, thank you. So I am looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1.1 and 1.2.
And 1.4, I believe also. Is that right?
Thank
Okay.
you. Yes.
Commissioner Reed here, move to agenda items 1.1, 1.2, and 1.4 today.
Second.
All of those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And Sarah, do we need a motion to officially table item 1.3 to next since it was pulled?
It'd be great to have a motion to move it to next week. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
So
Yeah, I can go ahead and make that. And Sarah, thanks for catching that. I did not even see that came on between like 3:30 and 4 o'clock. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
thank you for catching that. So I'll make a motion to table item 0.3 from the consent agenda.
I'll second that motion.
all of those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. So we will move on to general public comment. Sarah, has anyone joined you at the courthouse?
I don't have anyone here for general public comment.
Thank you. Jill, do we have anyone online for general public comment?
Yes, I see Melinda. Melinda, you should be able to mute yourself and speak.
Hi, my name's Melinda Levon, and I live at 539 Ohio. I am in Representative Kelly's district. I really appreciate the working session that you guys just did. I, as a resident of Douglas County for 5 years now, I've had experiences where, for example, one time my car was stolen. I did come as a victim to the trial for the young person that stole my car. And I left being more upset about his defense attorney than I was about the car anymore. In that particular instance, you could tell that the public defender was overworked, underpaid, had not prepared, and fell asleep a few times during the trial. Frustrated for this 18-year-old who deserved so much better than that. And although other family members of mine have had excellent public defense counsel in felony cases, just other family members, friends, people in the community, I've been really frustrated just I'm not an attorney, not a legal scholar whatsoever, but just my understanding as a citizen, what we are supposed to be able to access should we be accused of a crime. It says that we're afforded legal counsel, and I'm not sure that's always really available. The public defender system in Kansas is woefully underfunded and overworked. And I think really wonderful to have a public defender office here in Douglas County. And I look forward to learning more about the bid process and also getting a better understanding of how social work and other entities like DECA, Burt Nash, et cetera, might be able to be a part of that office to get some better coordination of services, because I think I've seen that one of my best friends, substance use disorder, has needed her to, she's needed public defense before. And just trying to get the jail and the substance use treatment coordinated and things like that. There was a lot of, oh, we don't have this form, or this wasn't forwarded by this office, and just a real lack of coordination that ended up causing things like her to stay an extra 30 days in jail, even though she was supposed to system and released to that location. So I feel like it leads to waste of tax dollars and people in jail longer than maybe what they should be sometimes from that lack of coordination.
Thank you so much for your comments, Melinda. We really appreciate it. I don't want to speak for my fellow commissioners, but I know that I am excited to continue the conversation come out of our work session. And I hope that we keep having this conversation with the whole community.
Yeah, just wanted to say hi from District 1. Thank you.
Jill, do we have anyone else who would like to make public comment?
Not seen anyone.
Thank you.
Commissioners, this is Robin. I had a couple emails today of people wanting to speak during public comment, but I haven't seen them show up other than Melinda. So just throwing that out there. Thank you.
I really appreciate that, Robin. And if we do see anyone show up, hopefully my fellow commissioners will be okay with us having another public comment at the very end after we get through the agenda, since I know we're making very quick time going through consent. We'll move on to item 3.1, the jail maintenance project and professional design services contract amendment. Do we have a presentation on this?
Commissioners, we don't have a presentation per se on this item. I'm here to help present this item to you, as well as Jay Zimmershed, our Director of Capital Projects, on behalf of the Sheriff's Office in relationship for this design agreement. Under Stacy Simmons is here with us, as well as Major Gary Bunting too with the Sheriff's Office. So as a result of the work session the commissioners had earlier this year related to deferred maintenance projects at the Douglas County Correctional Facility, the next step in this process is to complete design related to that, related to the deferred maintenance. And I guess I want to say here, as a, because we have done quite a bit of design on different parts of our different iterations of the Douglas County Correctional Facility improvement projects. It's important that before we go out to solicit bids in a construction management process, that we look at specifically design for the project as it's proposed now. pieces of this might, or were designed in earlier versions of this, it's important to bring it together in this sense and complete drawings of specific things that probably had not been completely finished before, so that it can be properly bid. I'd also note that this proposal includes costs for construction administration, which so it would take this project all the way through to completion from a design perspective. And staff is available if commissioners have questions.
Thank you, Sarah. And we'll open it up for questions from commissioners.
I didn't have any questions.
Nor did I.
Nor did I, so we will open it up for public comment. Sarah, has anyone joined you in the courthouse for public comment?
No, they haven't.
Jill, do we have anyone online for public comment for this item?
No.
Okay, then we will close public comment. Any additional discussion from commissioners?
I don't think any additional discussion. And, but I should pull up the right language. Sorry, I thought I had that open in a tab already. I design contract HL Incorporated for the documentation and observation of the Douglas County Correction Facility Maintenance Project in the amount of $63,500.
Second.
All of those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Thank you, Stacy. Good to see you.
Thank you.
And we will move on to item 3.2, Planning Department. Consider initiating a text amendment to the subdivision regulations and the unincorporated areas of Douglas County.
Thank you, commissioners. I think Mary Miller is going to introduce the item for discussion, but we also have Tanya Voigt here, and I believe Jeff Crick is here as well. I will make sure he gets moved over.
Good evening, City County Planner, and this is a request for the commission to initiate a text amendment to begin the process for changes to the subdivision regulations. And the regulations would be revised to come into compliance with the current recommendations of the updated comprehensive plan. And as an example, Horizon 20 recommended that agricultural uses should continue to be the predominant land use outside of the urban growth area and encouraged rural residential uses to locate within the urban growth area. And Plan 2040 recommends clustering residential development in the urban growth area, but stresses the importance of maintaining agricultural land throughout the unincorporated area. And so the intent is to update the to recommendations in the comp plan. A staff met with the commission on February 17th at a study session to discuss growth management issues that might also need to be addressed. And issues raised at the meeting in the amount and rate of agricultural land, residential uses. And this is a very important factor in trying to maintain an adequate agricultural inventory. The impact additional development may have on the maintenance of county and township roads. Slides were shown to study session showing the current condition of the roads. And the concern is that additional development will just exacerbate that. The pressure on current infrastructure, supporting additional housing, and the need for land in the urban growth area to be able to divide and develop to urban densities following annexation. And there's some concerns raised about the build-out plans that are currently being required when development. And while no properties that have build-out plans, no properties that have divided since 2006 have been annexed into the city of Lawrence. We don't have any data about how effective the build-out plans are, but that is something we can review, and staff can recommend adjustments if seen to be necessary. Another issue discussed was the need to develop the LISA system to help evaluate land for agricultural potential. And the intent is that if a property scores low on the LISA, it would probably get a ranking of low importance for protection. And that's where development, residential or otherwise, should be directed. And the staff memo in your agenda packet outlined the process for a text amendment. First, staff researches the issues and develop options and presents that to the Planning Commission. There is public outreach, as these changes could have impacts on properties within the urban growth area. We would do a public outreach. The Planning Commission can forward draft language to the County Commission as it's presented, changes, or they can return it to staff research and revisions. Then be forwarded to the County Commission. At that time, the County Commission could also adopt it. They could make changes, or they could return it to the Planning Commission with recommendations for further revisions. Then will also be placed on this. These are joint regulations and would affect the City of Lawrence urban growth area. And the City Commission can also return it to the Planning Commission with direction for additional research and revisions. The amendment may move back and forth between the various commissions until a final version is approved. And then the final step would be the adoption of a joint ordinance resolution. And so the action tonight is to initiate the text amendment to begin this process. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any for me. And Jeff and Tanya are also here tonight.
This is Commissioner Portillo. Thank you. Are there any questions from commissioners?
This is Commissioner Kelly. You mentioned the LISA system, and I don't expect that that's going to solve a lot of problems, but I'm certainly excited to see that. And do we think that this text amendment?
It will not be part of this text amendment, I don't believe, because this is the subregs. It'll be something that is in the zoning regulations, but it's something just, we're going to be working on it, and hopefully it'll be done before probably this text amendment is done. We're very near the end of getting the information we need to bring that before you. So they'll be on different tracks, and the LISA will probably be done first.
And then I have one more question, sorry. Jeff, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for coming. I think I remember from your last time that you visited with us, you said the city initiated some text have to do with Plan 2040. We haven't seen those, of course, and we will when they're ready to go because it covers both bodies. Can you talk a little bit about what they've been working on, or what text amendments they've initiated?
Jeff Craig, Planning and Development Services. Is it to the zoning code or to the comprehensive plan? I'm sorry, I'm not sure I have the right amendment in mind.
Yeah, and maybe I misunderstood, but I'm in this issue that we're having isn't only the county's issue. It also has to do with the city. And so I guess I should have been more direct in my questioning. Like, is the city moving ahead with any text amendments on their side of the issue?
Certainly. There's a few amendments that are currently underway. I don't know if they would quite get it at the same, wouldn't call them the same side of the, they're working in very similar lines and tracks for that one. There are reviews going on to subdivision regulations in the city for when planning does and does not need to occur, which may affect the speed of development on certain areas and those items. The city is also kind of looking at some of the parts that are related to one amendment that we just wrapped up was for parking, looking at other development criteria out there. So it's not quite in the same line as a subdivision regulation, but they're at the same kind of tracks that kind of go for the same actions. And if I didn't answer the question, please let me know. I'm not sure I was quite tracking still. So
no, I know that they will come across, and I'm just trying to. I think I really enjoyed our planning commission retreat that we had a few weeks ago, because I think it really lined up our two commissions sort of understanding this issue, and the planning commission sort of trying to get more understanding around the issue. And for the public, that line gets really tricky. And so I'm just interested in understanding sort of how the city is sort of dealing with this. And I sort of understand where you're going, and I wasn't looking for like real specifics on this. I'm just trying to figure out there is motion happening through the city as well, not just at the county level, is what I was trying to confirm.
Yes, Commissioner, that's correct. There is multiple tracks going on that front.
Thanks.
Jeff,
Oh, go ahead, Sarah.
well, you go ahead and I'll wait till the end.
Commissioner Reed here. I was just curious, Mary or Jeff or Tanya, whomever wants to answer, Sarah, curious if you can help us in the public kind of know what, if we were to initiate this text amendment process, and then, you know, I see in the pack public notification and there's an acknowledgement, conduct some public outreach. Can you help me, especially as a new commissioner, understand kind of what some of those typical steps of the process or like methods of public outreach are? And then I guess my additional question to that is there anything that the commissioners can be doing or thinking about in terms of public outreach should we move forward with this, and how to really ask for that input?
You know, when we did the revisions to the, I'm sorry, Mary Miller, when we worked on the revisions to the zone, robust public outreach, we had a lot of meetings and we went out in person. This year, this will be different, you know, since we can't really go out and meet in person. Probably we'll try to do a press release, get the information out to the public. So they're, and that way, as we work through the planning, aware of the fact that it's going to go to the planning commission. An item on our website called Lawrence Listens, where we can put surveys, we can put information out and take answers and comments, and that'll be a way to do it. And we may have to get a little bit more creative and find other avenues. You know, we want to make sure that we don't pass this through and then have a large number of people that weren't even aware we were working on it. So the newspaper will be an important place to go with that, and perhaps the radio. We used the radio last time as well. And so as it moves forward, I think just making sure different groups are aware of it, and hopefully they'll come to the meetings or provide written communication, because that's the most helpful. Jeff and Tanya might have more information too.
Tanya Voigt, Zoning Director. I did also want to add to that, when we worked on the zoning regulations, we also posted the draft set of regulations on both the city website and the Zoning and Codes website. That way you as commissioners or anyone who's speaking with someone about it can direct them to the specific provided links in there where they could email their comments to us directly, so that, you know, convenient for them, and if they weren't able to make it to a meeting or come to a night meeting or be somewhere at a specific time, that they were still able to get those public comments in. So I think I'd be really happy to, you know, just continue kind of what we did with the zoning regulations and kind of get those uploaded and provide a timeline that we would need public comments by, and then direct everyone from the public to that location.
Thank you both. I appreciate that.
Mary and Tanya and Jeff, I guess I want to make sure, you know, every time we, at least when I've seen text amendments or different types of these types of regulation changes initiated, they're always a little bit different. Sometimes you have something very specific that you're looking to achieve, and sometimes it's a little bit more open-ended. I heard Mary mention conversation about how, you know, if build-out plans could be incorporated, the LISA system. I guess one of the things, you know, I want to at least assure the commission, and I think a lot of this will happen at the staff level, but, you know, I think there's, you know, what specific strategies and tactics we're going to use to address this pretty broad issue, and how you know, I would want to ensure that county staff will be engaged in that conversation as to how the text amendment might be structured. And if there is any, you know, I guess I heard a lot of conversation at the last work session about possible considerations to the urban growth area boundaries. Are they appropriate? Is this the right area? What is allowed in certain UGAs? Is that a part of the discussion?
Well, that might be Mary Miller, City County Planner. That could be a that needs to occur, that would actually be another amendment. That'd be a comprehensive plan amendment that would need to be initiated. And so as we go through the process, if we discovered that those steps should be taken, then we would need to initiate an amendment to the comprehensive plan. So I think we'd want to look at it closely and see, is that the best way to handle it? Or are there other steps and provisions we can put in the subregs that would handle it without having to actually change the comprehensive plan? And we would work very closely with county staff. We have a weekly meeting where we discuss text amendments. And so we would keep that going. And, you know, it's a city county. We do work very closely with county staff. And so, yeah, I don't think we have a lot of specifics. There's a lot of things we could look at. You know, we could look at prohibition on, I think that was mentioned at the work session, prohibit development in tier 2 or tier, and that's an option. But I think we should look at all kinds of options before deciding which way to go, or we decide it's better to draw the urban growth boundary, or perhaps put, you know, stronger conditions on the LISA so that you could develop anywhere as long as it ranked really low for protection as far as agricultural property. A lot of avenues we could take, I think.
I appreciate that, Mary. And I'd also offer my services. I'd like to stay engaged in this process as we talk about what options are available to help make sure we're on the right track.
If we don't have additional commissioner questions, we'll open this up for public comment. Do we have anyone in the courthouse with you, Sarah?
I do not. Thanks.
Jill, is there anyone online for public comment?
No.
We will close public comment, open it up for additional conversation and discussion amongst commissioners. Any additional discussion?
Don't have any addition. I would say I'm just pleased we got this turned around as a text. I know this is a big, long, we have a long way to go on this. And while it may be frustrating, we don't have specifics yet. I do know that work going forward, and these changes are super important. So if there are no other comment, I can go ahead and make a motion, Commissioner Portillo, if that's okay. I'll make a motion to consider and initiate a text amendment to the subdivision regulations for Lawrence and the unincorporated areas of Douglas County to revise and develop land division processes and standards that are aligned with and will effectively implement the goals and action steps provided in Plan 2040 for growth management of the Lawrence urban growth area.
I have second motion.
And I will bring that. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. And we will move to item 3.3, result 2020 Douglas County Employee Racial Equity Survey. A presentation on this.
Yes, commissioners, I'd like to turn this over to County Administrator for presentation of this item. I know she's got a couple other county staff here as well. So Jill.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm going to move over some of my colleagues that are engaged in our criminal justice coordinator, and over in Michelle Spreer, the county's human resources manager. We do have a internal racial equity team that meets on a monthly basis that consists of Mike, Michelle, Carrie Britt, Jasmine Moore, DA Suzanne Valdez. The two members of her staff currently serve on there. Adam Rains with the Treasurer's Office, Bob Tryansky, our Behavioral Health Services Manager, and I'm probably forgetting somebody, but that team meets again once a month, and it's open to join us, and we meet on a monthly basis to largely speak to what activities are occurring focused on the racial equity space and our engagement with GARE. So as I detailed in the memo, the county became a member of the Government Alliance for Race and Equity early this past year. And as part of our contract for membership with GARE, the Government Alliance for Race and Equity, one of the membership benefits is that you get to have access to a biannual employee racial equity survey. So that was one of the first things that we knew that we needed to do to accomplish one of the focus areas that we outlined in our application to GARE, which was organizational development. We outlined 3 areas of focus for in our application, focusing on, even though we have a lot. But for those 3 key areas were organizational development, criminal justice, and open space planning. Again, we've grown as a group, and the interests have grown and the opportunities are growing. But in those 3 areas, then in particular, organizational development, having access to that employee survey and the results from it were going to be foundational to us as to inform our strategy as an organization moving forward. So county staff have reviewed that survey, the results of it. We feel we didn't have any questions about it. You know, it tells us that our employees are ready to do that work. But there's a lot of questions that I think that the GARE team and their analysis articulated, in that we have some we need to do as it relates to responses for supervisors and genders, race, and just digging a little deeper. What does it mean when understanding of the work of racial equity? I think for those of us that had the opportunity to participate in the December training that the Government Alliance for Race and Equity performed for about 65 individuals as a result of the contract that the DA's office initiated related to the Racial Equity Toolkit. The explicit examples of the role of local government in advancing racial equity were, it was a really transformative experience for me personally. And I think for a lot of the county staff, we had a good deal of county department heads. I think we're looking really hard how we can integrate that going community development efforts through the GARE contract that we have through the DA's office. We're trying to explore doing initiating a train the trainer training team, equity internal team, and a cohort that Mike's working to put together as part of that effort, so that we're able to integrate that sort of training in throughout the organization on an ongoing basis. That's one aspect of how we plan to continue to move forward with the things that came up in the survey. Other piece of that that I want to let Mike talk a little bit more about how he's moving forward with some of our efforts in this space related to our engagement with GARE. But I also wanted to let Michelle talk a little bit about goals and initiatives. Good amount of time, and this information just amplifies as we move forward in terms of employee training, supervisor training, things of that nature. So Michelle, would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, hi. So yes, one of the things I'm trying to throw together or get together, I'm getting some quotes and some program outlines from a couple of places for diversity, inclusion, bias trainings. I spent 11 years working at the city of Lawrence. We had mandatory diversity training every year. And that's, I really want to get a formal program. KU Public Management Center, part of their certified public manager program, they have a full day of diversity and it is something that to to like a 4-hour program. They're working on a proposal for me now, just to see if it's something we want to offer, you know, how much is it going to cost? Loretta Summers is another trainer that the county has used in the past for harassment training. She also does diversity and bias training. She has sent me some of her program outlines. So I want to just get a feel for what's out there and as an internal group, talk about what works best. You know, we do need a budget for this. It's probably not a small budget. Assuming I'm excited to get hopefully back to some in-person training. While Zoom is great, I am more of that hands-on. And I think when you can get people from all, you know, in the same room, people that don't know each other, you can and take your training to a different level. So that's kind of the stuff I'm working on. I would like to form a relationship with KU Public Management Center. When I worked for the city, we had them come in and do supervisor on a regular basis. It was quarterly. And I really, and that may include some diversity components. It's also just, you know, it's for your current managers, for your managers that are up and coming. It ties into our succession planning. We have a in this, and I'm really excited. It's something I want right out of the gate. I was here for a couple months. COVID came upon us, and then everything went to back burner. So I'm excited to move forward with it.
Mike, would you mind how you see things as it relates to the work with the DA's office?
Yeah, thank you, Jill. Commissioners, this might be a little bit of a review for Commissioner Kelly, but happy to share this with Commissioner Reed and is that we put together a contract with GARE to do a couple of things. One is was the training that they put on in December, racial equity, the role of government. Sarah Plinsky was really instrumental in getting, we had every single department head there, except for a couple who were retired, one of their lead staff, so that we wouldn't lose that knowledge base. And the purpose of doing that was we wanted to set a foundation for the next level. So the next level is, DA wanted to have racial equity lens. So that's what got us looking at the racial equity toolkit from GARE. And when we started to go through that toolkit with the racial disparities work group from the CJCC, we kind of felt lost in how do we apply this toolkit, even though it's set up online for communities to be able to utilize it. So we contacted GARE and they committed for a fee which you have paid to help us do that. So we are working scheduled 3 sessions, all-day sessions with GARE to do that work with the DA's office. DA Valdez has even more passionately voiced her support for doing this, and just a couple weeks ago met with the leadership from GARE to kind of clarify next steps. We're finalizing our kind of work team for this project. It will be made up of community members, a few CJCC members, and then we're seeking people from various county departments so we can gain the experience of utilizing kit with the GARE staff. That way, we will have staff trained that if Public Works comes back later in the year and says, we would like to review our policies and procedures using the racial equity toolkit, we won't have to contract with GARE. We'll have staff members who are able to do that. And so we're really excited about that. the follow-up pieces to that are helping us create a strategic plan for racial equity in Douglas County, which is something I know everyone's very interested in, and improving community engagement. And then there'll be kind of a summary meeting for the whole process with them. And so that's what we have coming up. It's tough getting dates on the books. Gare is unbelievably busy, as well as I'm sure you're aware the DA's office is too. But we'll let you know when we get those dates scheduled and keep you updated.
So I want to just, there's a lot of things that we're doing in a lot of us are doing are really, there's an integration of equity into a lot of the work that we're doing, and how that ties together into, the employee survey is, our employees are the biggest way that we influence, that we're a large employer. Our employees are delivering services every single day in the community. Another element, I think that the results of this from the office. And so I think that there's some, there's an interest, there's opportunities from some of our larger employee work groups. And so how we pull this all together in a cohesive, that's the work. We're trying to do that from in our racial equity team, doing that as we all get together and try to learn from Dr. Faris Muhammad has been participating in our work group as kind of a city-county collaboration. So we've been really helpful. It's been really great to have Dr. Muhammad be a part of that and hear what kind of efforts he's thinking about for the city and how we can think about it for the county. And we hope to, be able to move forward with some strategies here in the very short term. But we do just want to make sure that we're using this survey to inform here when we survey again in another year or two. I'm happy to stand for any questions that folks have.
This is Commissioner Portillo. As a social scientist, always love data. So I'm really appreciative of you sharing the survey results with us. I'm really excited that we're undertaking this work with Gare and ensuring that we'll have ongoing surveys. So we have a baseline and we know how we can improve. I was particularly struck by one of the questions or series of questions kind of asking about, do people think that their department is committed, but actually name actionable behavior? There's quite a gap. So I'm excited to hear all of the actionable behaviors that we're hearing about now. Full disclosure, the PMC is within my school, so I also love everything they do, but I think that there are lots of local trainers that we are pulling in from the university, from our community around these issues, because we have a lot of really amazing local folks who can help us with trainings and how we think about this work moving forward that really understand the context of Douglas County and what folks are going through here in Douglas County. So I'm deeply appreciative of this work. I'm really excited for next steps. I like the idea of a plan for the county when it comes to equity and inclusion and how we can move this work forward in a really intentional way that connects every one of our policy decisions, every one of our practices in the organization, and everything we do as a community this work forward. So thank you.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Reed here. I would echo everything that Commissioner Portillo shared and say that I also really appreciate the thought about working to invest in the train the trainer idea and making sure that we have some folks, that's a good sustainability model, I think, and a way to create more buy-in and investment from people across the organization that can show up and continue to train new employees and provide new information as we have it. And thank you all for your work on that. And thanks Commissioner Kelly for being a part of the former commission who helped to make sure we could move forward with this and really make an investment in it. And like Commissioner Portillo said, I'm excited about the idea of this plan from this angle, because looking at everything through the lens of then I think that really gives us a good baseline for how we are making sure that we have continuity of services across our organization, that we have tangible ways of addressing of structural racism and any injustices that people might experience. So I think that it's an important way for us to framework a lot of what the county does. And I appreciate your comments, Jill, about the fact that we are a large employer in the community. And so this is a really great opportunity for us to enhance our leadership around the issue and acknowledge that as a public facing organization, that's important to do throughout every department and all of the different public facing employees that we have that do a variety of things.
I wanted to add, Commissioner Portillo, about employees saying that their answers related to whether or not their department or they had an opportunity to influence racial equity in the work of their work or their department. One element of the budget process that Sarah and Cammie Owens and I have talked through that you're going to see in the budget process this year is equity impact questions. We're going to be, and folks that were involved in the CARES Act process and the administration of all the funding. We tasked our equity impact advisor team with developing, pulling a set of questions. It was 3 questions that were utilized on every application for funding that were evaluated as part of those proposals for funding. And so we've taken those questions and we've incorporated them into our budget forms that have gone out to community partners and to departments, which I think is going to be agencies and departments that are used to filling out these forms. But we're looking forward to the process, and it's a great opportunity to, I think, start educating ourselves and challenging ourselves as an organization, as a community around these issues, and how our budget, our largest policy work that we do, translates those equity impacts. So I'm excited about that.
Thank you for sharing that, Jill. As Commissioner Kelly, really excited to hear that. This was something that when I first started on the commission, we talked about CARE and how we might get this kicked off. And the initial idea was really, how do we look at our policies to make sure that embedded in those policies is not inequitable practices. And I'm glad to hear that in the budget. My question is, and it's probably to Sarah, is there any sort of plan going forward to looking at other policies? I mean, are we looking at our policy, not only HR policies, Michelle, but also just, what we do as a county, and what practices are baked right into how we operate that may need to be looked at.
Thanks, Commissioner Kelly. Yeah, I'd say that, I think that's a part of this whole process. I think part of, we're just here at the very beginning where I feel like it's important that we get our staff in a position to even know what the right questions are to ask. And so that's why the employee training is so fundamental to what we need to do. And then I think, as a part of this, the racial equity, or the toolkit, I'm just going to say the toolkit. As a result of that, I think that can be used as a lens to figure out, like, how do we evaluate not just HR policies, financial policies, different practices and protocols inside departments. And so that's what I'd really like to be able to do, is be able to use that, for criminal justice services, to take that toolkit, evaluate their practices and protocols. The same thing could happen in planning and zoning. Same thing could happen in, different parts of what we do. So a sheriff's office, as well. So I want to we got to learn how to use it and how to be properly prepared for it. And then I think we will definitely begin to apply it systematically throughout the organization.
Yeah, I'd really down the line, like this text amendment we just did, how do we look at that with an equity lens, and how does that impact all of Douglas County? Are we thinking about that? I know we talked about that early on, and we're making great progress, and I'm really, Jill, it makes me very happy to hear how it's been transformative for you as you shared that training. So that just tells me great things are going on, and we all have a ton of work to do here. I don't want to pat ourselves on the back too much at all, because we have a ton of work to do in this space. And the last person who should be patting himself on the back is a white male. So, I think, but I am happy to hear that the conversations that are happening. So thanks for all your work on this.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I would say, this really, this team and these efforts are really internal focused. What do our employees need, and what are our own policies and practices? Obviously, the commission knows that we've, had conversations about racial equity work on our, community-based, community outreach base, but integrating it is a challenge, and on top of very busy schedules and responding to a pandemic. And so I do appreciate the commission's support in this, and understanding that we've got a lot to learn, most definitely, as we really begin in this work.
One of the great things that came out of our unified command response and COVID has been the formation of the equity impact advisors. And it might be a fun opportunity at some point to get that group together to put together a presentation for the county commission about observations that they've made in their work, because I don't know where we'd be without them. And a lot of the work that we've done around COVID, they've been instrumental in helping us craft a response and providing insight where a lot of us have blinders. But now they're also available for other community projects if you need them, and they're willing to entertain proposals and requests for support. And so I think that's a group that has an internal and an external focus that could be a real asset to our just this organization, but also with some of our projects, but also perhaps from a community standpoint as well.
If we don't have additional questions or comments from commissioners, I do want to open this up for public comment. Sarah, I'm going to guess that no one has joined you in the courthouse, but let me know.
We don't have anyone here for this item.
Jill, is there anyone online?
Nope.
Well, thank you very much. As you can tell, I think the whole commission is really excited to see this work continue to move forward. We appreciate all of it. And we will move on to appointments. Do we have any appointments this week?
Commissioner Kelly, and I am remiss in reminding you.
We're good. Yes, I'd be happy to make that recommendation. I know. So I'd like to, pulling up my notes here, or make a recommendation of a county appointment for Michael Williams. Michael is our county appointment to the Lawrence Douglas County Health Board. He's eligible for reappointment. I'll share with the commission, I had a nice visit with Michael earlier this week. That makes this week seem really long, but yes, earlier this week. And I think our health board really has a larger perspective of the responsibilities that they have. I think our health department had really focused on health equity and the work that needed to be done around equity, and had sort of designed their organization around that. And I think that the health board was very well in tune to the work that was happening there. Then we had a pandemic, and I think that has opened a lot of our eyes to the operations side of the health department and the responsibilities the health board has in working with that and just understanding the operations side. And I was really impressed. Michael is really well attuned because of his work in IT and his work with Lawrence Memorial Hospital or LMH Health. Really has a great understanding of it, how public health is impacting the entire community. So I was just really impressed with Michael. I know our health department has worked really hard this year and gone through quite a bit, but I think he'll do quite a good job remaining on that health board, and would like to recommend him for reappointment.
I will go ahead and second that and bring it to a vote. All of those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Kelly. Do we have any additional appointments to discuss?
I have a quick question. Sarah, I saw that we have a county appointment to the Planning Commission. Do you know which commissioner that is who rolls off?
Oh,
I'm not testing you here. I mean, it's
think
not
it's-
urgent.
I think it's Eric Struckoff, but I will,
Okay.
Robin is confirming that it's Eric Struckoff.
Great.
And I would say that at a preliminary level, Tanya and I have had some initial conversations to try to gather some names and some other folks, but obviously Planning Commission is such an important part of what we do, and it's a huge investment of time and energy. So my assumption is commissioners may also have some folks that they want to see if they have interest in. So I think once we get some, I know from a staff perspective, I'd like to give you a list of some folks that might be interested, but obviously there could be more names added to that, as well as just open consideration from people in the public that might be interested. I did have an interesting conversation this week with an intern working for Commissioner Portillo, who's got some particular emphasis and interest in trying to do outreach related to if people want to serve on board. So I want to work with her as well as Carrie Britt to perhaps maybe even just sort of more publicly open up that we are looking for folks that might be interested in serving in this job, and make sure we're giving them a really good sense of what the job entails in terms of time commitment and understanding and knowledge. Because as commissioners have heard, Planning Commission is a huge part, and we rely on that board significantly for a lot of the work that we do.
Sarah, we've checked that Commissioner Struckoff is, he came in at a weird time. He may have filled in a role.
I've been advised from staff that he is not eligible for reappointment.
Thank
But
you.
I'll make sure, I mean, obviously we'll make sure and confirm that, but I believe Jeff Cricket informed me that he's not eligible for reappointment.
This is Commissioner Portillo. Thank you so much for having that conversation with Shally, Sarah, and I am really excited that we're trying to reach out to the public more and have more conversations about what it means to serve on boards and committees and what the time commitment looks like and how it contributes to these overall decisions in our community.
And Sarah, I see we have a food policy and you sent us an email, but just because we have an opening there in food policy, and I know that some of the food policy ones are very specific. Do you want to talk about that one a little bit?
Well, I would mention that this is an open seat on the Food Policy Council. I didn't know, there was someone who expressed interest in it, obviously, but I didn't know if commissioners, we were just notified about that opening a week or so ago. So I was hoping to see if commissioners if they want to proceed with making that appointment, if somebody wants to reach out to that candidate or if they know of others. This is a unique opportunity to sort of have an open spot. Many spots on the Food Policy Council are very specific for particular expertises, but I don't know that anyone has particularly reached out to the suggested person.
This is Commissioner Portillo. I would like a little bit more time to see if we have more folks interested, just to make sure that we've gotten the word out about that particular opening. So unless we're pressed for time on that, I would appreciate considering that one next week.
Absolutely. Or even, I think we could even take additional time if needed.
Fantastic.
I was going to make the same suggestion, Commissioner Portillo, so thank you. And I wanted to clarify about that one. Oh, I see it. So that that term will expire December 2021. So it is just about a 9-month appointment with the potential, since it would be a new member, that they would be eligible for reappointment if their interest continued. Is that accurate?
Correct. Yes. And we can work with Kim and the sustainability team to I know they'd be eligible for reappointment for at least one more term. But I can get additional information about if they have any sort of term limits on, 2 terms, or how that would work with filling an unexpired term.
Yeah, I would appreciate those details, just so that if we are, since it is kind of a unique short window of time until it expires, knowing what the possibility after that would be helpful.
If we have no other discussion around appointments, I think it is time for us to move on to miscellaneous items. Sarah, would you like to kick off our miscellaneous?
Thank you, commissioners. I would say in my weekly memo in your packet, I do want to point attention to Monday, March 29th at 5:30. We're going to have a joint meeting with the Lawrence City Commission. The City of Lawrence is handling logistics for that meeting, so I'll be forwarding Zoom invites to the commissioners to participate in that process. And then I would say for members of the public that are interested in watching that process, I think we're going to refer folks to the City of Lawrence to get that information related to how they sign up. Also want to note that we've got a legislative agenda or legislative update in your packet, and we had an update last week. I want to say a couple other things. The governor signed the changes to the Kansas Emergency Management Act, I believe today. And so as staff, we're working with other members of Unified Command, legal counsel for the health department, and our public health officers to evaluate what that means in terms of the status of our own public health orders and what those changes are to this process moving forward. So I will be in touch with the commission as we get a more developed handle on what that would mean for public health orders, and hopefully very soon to respond to you on that. In addition to that, my hope is on next week, on March 31st, that we could add to our agenda a brief discussion of the impacts of Senate Bill 13. Senate Bill 13 also recently passed and is related to the tax lid and removal of the tax lid, which is exciting, but also has presented a number of challenges to us in regards to notification and of mill levies for entities and communication with the public. So I just want the commissioners to, as soon as possible, know what that means for us. And then, I think we're in a unique position here in the county because so much of this bill is going to run notification through the county clerk related to every taxing jurisdiction in Douglas County by property. So it is going to present a pretty significant lift in terms of notification and how we manage that process. It does modify some of our budget timelines. So I want to be able to just give you an update as to what we know, and then begin really that public process of communicating with our cities, townships, school districts, cemetery districts, and sundry other districts that are also taxing jurisdictions on a tax bill. So we're going to add that to the agenda for next week. And you just have a list of upcoming work sessions. And with that, I just stand for any questions the commissioner might have.
Thank you, Sarah. And my understanding with Senate Bill 13, and maybe help correct me if this isn't right for exactly what passed, that the state is going to provide some funding around notifications for year 1, but then that will actually become part of our responsibility as a county. So this is an ask of the county that will increase our expenses from the state.
Correct. And actually, So the first year, we have to collect all of the information from all the jurisdictions, and we're allowed to not necessarily send out a paper notification this year. And I'm talking this year, 2021. But we are required to publicize that information. So and the timelines we're talking about here are very, very tight. And we're talking like 2 weeks to gather information from almost every jurisdiction in the county, and then turn around and send notifications. So and it really does speed up the timeline for township budgets. So historically, and we'll talk about this more next week, historically, county staff has done significant lifts and assistance in providing financial summaries and state budget form assistance and public hearing support for townships and districts. Now, all of that will happen right in the middle of our own budget process with my very limited budget staff. So I'm really nervous about that piece and what its impacts could be on our own staff as to how we manage that. We'll come up with some solutions, and I think we can talk about some different ideas, but it's honestly right now, it's the timing that's really concerning. This is in essence preparing something very similar to a tax bill, because it will calculate the amount of potential tax per property. So in essence, it's the same lift of a tax bill, just done in the summer. And in terms of the amount of data that's prepared. So it involves the appraiser, the treasurer's office, the clerk's office, as well as budget staff, IT staff in terms of our tax system as well. So I think I don't want to lose the forest for the trees. Real happy tax lid's gone. Real excited about how it might simplify some things on our end for that. Just want to make sure we are all aware, and all the districts are aware of the implications of this notification.
Well, I think just a bit of clarity around the tax lid being gone. Super excited that the tax lid has gone from how we budget and the complexities of budget. I think that this still provides a lot of information to the public for why we need public dollars to do the public's work. And so there's still a huge amount of public involvement. It's just a lot less complexity when it comes to how we put budgets together.
Agreed. And, and anybody who's ever really spent a lot of time reviewing their tax bill knows that oftentimes there's 5, 6, 7 districts that are taxing bodies that are on a tax bill. The state is included in the notification. However, they're not subject to they're not subject to this notification, which I also thought was interesting as well, that this was something that they are putting on local units of government and not on themselves. So in terms of that notification. But we'll bring more back to you next week, and I hope to have it. I think it's actually good timing that if we're talking about the 5-member commission, and I have reached out to several folks that have expressed interest in hearing about that presentation. I think we might get some overlap of some folks that will want to hear about the 5-member commission, as well as some of these conversations about the notification.
I'm super excited for that conversation. The tax policy conversations get me very excited. So thank you for bringing that to us next week.
Sarah, this is Commissioner Kelly. I think there must be something wrong with my internet. It looks like your memo is 2 pages and you reference something attached, but I'm not. So if you could just send that to me, because I'm only getting 1 page when I do it.
Same.
Yeah, I know Robin just mentioned, I think we had a problem with the upload. It's the legislative update is the secondary piece of information. So we'll get it reattached to the packet and then also sent to the commissioners individually. I think that was part of my snafu when I mistakenly added an item to your agenda here at the very last minute for this week.
Do we have any miscellaneous items from commissioners?
Nope.
No.
Well, thank you all for an incredibly efficient meeting.
Commissioner Portillo, were you going to open it back up for public comment? Remember, we might have a few more people.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Kelly. Sarah, has anyone joined you in the courthouse?
I don't have anyone here for public comment.
Jill, has anyone joined us online?
No, I don't see anyone.
Okay. Well, if we have nothing else, then we'll go ahead and say we're adjourned for the week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.